We are here to do JetBlue's 25 in 25 challenge, where we are attempting to go to 25 destinations before the end of the year to earn 350,000 bonus miles and Mosaic 1 status for 25 years. Why JetBlue? As you may know, I'm actually a Delta Million Miler, as well as also being United Silver as part of their Mileage Plus program. So there are three main reasons why I've opted to prioritize JetBlue. Number one is the destinations to where it flies, right? They do a lot of flights down to Florida from the Northeast. Now, as you know, we are a big Disney family, we're a big cruising family. So that means we go to Orlando, that means we go to Fort Lauderdale, that means we're flying out of Newark and LaGuardia and JFK. And these are our usual itineraries, and so having lots of flights going back and forth in those places is really important to us. Also, JetBlue has an incredible level of allergen awareness, right? Their snacks work really well for us as a gluten-free, dairy-free family. Their menus, if you use their Mint service, are really well labeled with what things have what allergens. And so we've opted to prioritize JetBlue because it is a significantly better experience for people traveling with different dietary restrictions who have needs such as these. The third reason is that, frankly, JetBlue did such a good job when Delta raised their requirement levels to reach their medallion status back at the end of 2023. They did an incredible status match. So I was able to take my Delta Platinum status and actually match to Mosaic 3, which got me a whole bunch of different benefits. And also I got their credit card, which meant that I was able to extend it for a long time. Now, I currently am a Mosaic 1, but this year I'm going to be getting up to Mosaic 2. Let's talk about benefits. Number one, I've already mentioned, it's 350,000 bonus miles, which is worth over $5,000 in cash value. Benefit number two is the big one. It's Mosaic status for 25 years. That, for me, that's basically like the rest of my life. So while I am spending a number of days of travel to make this thing happen, there are years and years and years of benefits that I'm going to be able to get as a result of it. So what's the big benefit of Mosaic, right? People often say, well, what do you mean by loyalty status? Well, first off, you get a check-in area like this, or you get a dedicated line instead of having to deal with the large crowds. Number two, you get free check bags. You don't have to pay for them, and you get usually either a bigger allowance or more of them. You're able to book preferred seats right off the bat, and depending on your Mosaic status, you're able to get actually the even more space seats, either at booking or at check-in. We are a family of 5, hence 5 hungry travelers. And with JetBlue, when you have access to things like even more space seating, you're able to get it for your entire party. If you have something like medallion status with Delta, you're only able to get things like upgrades to comfort for you and one companion. That is fundamentally different than being able to take advantage of those things for your entire party. And us, as a family of 5, if we're doing that per trip, that can mean several $100s in benefits. You also get things like boarding early, and if you hit certain higher levels, you even get things such as upgrade certificates, especially when you're doing those long-range flights and you're able to sit in Mint on your way over to Europe. Do know that this promotion only gives you Mosaic 1. It doesn't give you all of the tiles that you need to hit Mosaic 1, which is 50 tiles. You don't get the 50 tiles, you only get Mosaic 1 status. So if you really want Mosaic 2 or Mosaic 3 to get all of those extra benefits, you do still end up having to fly on an annual basis in order to get them. The fourth big benefit of completing this challenge is actually having to do not with JetBlue, but with United. So recently, JetBlue and United have announced their Blue Sky partnership, which basically means that status on JetBlue means status on United, right? So no matter what happens with JetBlue or whether or not you're flying them, what I'm basically locking myself in for is United Silver status for the next 25 years on the back of my JetBlue status. It's a huge win that people aren't necessarily thinking about, and it's super important for us being in this area where United is a hub. Number 5, perhaps most importantly, bragging rights. My booking strategy has been to identify first the 4 JetBlue hubs: JFK, Boston, Fort Lauderdale, and San Juan. And then from there, you literally start drawing a ring around that airport, and you're trying to identify what the closest airports are to each of those origin cities. And you do this really for two reasons. One, they lead to shorter flights. Obviously, if you're going from New York to Bradley in Hartford, that's gonna be a super short trip. That's helpful because A, it's a shorter trip, so you can hit a destination with much less travel time, and two, shorter trips generally lead to smaller costs. So if you identify where that hub is and you start working around in a circle, that's your best way to start navigating. The second thing is to be aware that you don't always have to fly JetBlue back. If you have identified an airport that you've already taken care of as a destination, you can use either other airlines. I have some United flights and some Delta flights that get me back where I need to go that might be cheaper or have a better schedule because both of those airlines just simply have more flights. And so I can opt to select one of those airlines instead as a way of getting back to a destination where I've already been. Second, I'd also say check your alternative routes of travel. You could take Amtrak. You could even take a commuter train, right? So if you're flying into White Plains, for example, you don't need to worry about flying back somewhere. You just get on a train and work your way back home. You might even ask your wife to go pick you up. So some specifics. When I'm leaving Atlanta after having used it as a destination, I'm going to be using Delta. As another example, when I'm doing both Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., I'm using Amtrak to actually get back to the New York area instead of taking a flight. And I'll be honest with you, those trains are almost as quick as a plane ride, and sometimes you can get an Amtrak train for $10. If you're at all interested in seeing just what my itineraries look like, I'm actually going to put a link below so you can see the entire spreadsheet with its cost and its origin airports and its destinations and its transfers. And maybe I won't put exactly what flights I'm on because I don't want you following that closely along. However, what I really recommend is that you subscribe. Subscribe and you can watch as we're going through the whole sequence.
We're not doing 25 videos.
Not doing 25 videos. If you want a real hacker level trick, what you do is actually set a Google Flights reminder for every one of your itineraries, which is pretty easy to do. Itineraries, and I then get an email anytime the itinerary changes in price. If it increases in price, I'm not going to do anything about it. But when it decreases in price, I'm actually able to refund my old flight, rebook it, and I'll either get some money saved into my JetBlue travel bank, or if it's a mileage flight, I end up just getting miles. The specifics for me on this are that right now I have budgeted approximately $4,000 and about 80,000 JetBlue points in order to hit all 25 destinations. Some of this is travel that I've already planned that I would have been doing anyway, but all in, I'm looking at about a $5,000 investment in order to hit all 25 destinations. And I'm looking at about 8 travel days. Most of those are basically 2-day weekends. So I'm taking about 4 weekends, 2 days at a time in order to knock everything out. Now, with that being said, I am expecting that things are gonna go wrong. Things are gonna change. So I actually will continue to update this information as we go along because there might be situations where I can get it a little bit cheaper as prices change and I'm able to rebook certain tickets. But there's also situations where I may have to do something at the last minute a little bit more expensive because if it's December 29th and I haven't finished this yet, you mark my words, I'm going to finish this. There are 3 ancillary things that I want to talk about. The last thing to talk about. The first thing is lounges. Now, if you know me, I'm a bit of a lounge rat. I like to just sit for hours in an airplane lounge. Maybe I'm a freak, but it's kind of a fun little pastime for me. This is a little different, A, because I've structured these trips in such a way, there is no lounge time. There's not even like, hey, let's go to the bathroom time. It is literally walk off the plane, walk back on the plane. In order to do these 25 routes, it's back and forth, literally on the same plane. It's probably a really good thing because at the end of the day, JetBlue doesn't have lounges, so it's not as if I'm missing out on anything. Let's talk about insurance. Now, I am not somebody who usually pays for travel insurance. However, knowing how many different trips I'm going to be taking and how many close calls I'm going to be going into, I've actually opted to take out an annual travel insurance policy specifically for this period of time while I'm working on this. this. I did that because I'm expecting there is going to be some trip someday where I'm going to end up having to spend a hotel night where I wasn't planning on doing it, and having insurance as a backup to make sure that they can cover that is really helpful. The last thing I want to talk about is the credit card that I'm using to pay for this. And the one that I'm using to pay for this whole thing is the JetBlue Plus card. Now, the reason I'm doing this primarily is that their earning rate is 6 times for every dollar spent. So that 6 times earning rate is going to be a massive gain of additional miles that I wouldn't get if I were booking it through some other credit card partners. That's why I'm prioritizing this card in addition to the benefits that it provides. Because you have to.
Welcome to Terminal A.
The dog is a paid actor.
Woof. Wait, are you doing this too? Okay, let me know in the comments. See you next time, travelers.